Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I would like to thank everyone for attending this program. We would like to start this program with the recitation of the Holy Quran. I would like to invite Brother Mohsin Ladak to recite the Holy Quran. Please welcome him with a loud salawat.
الله
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات الله
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you for the beautiful recitation, Brother Mohsin. I would like to continue our program. But before I invite Maulana, I would like to just announce that we will be having a Q&A session after the program, Momineen and Mominat. So if you have any questions, please, the YouTube link for this program in the comment section below. Please post your questions, any questions that you might have for Maulana. Please post them below in the comment section of the YouTube link, and we will ask them during the Q&A session of the program. Without further ado, I would like to invite our esteemed scholar, our beloved Maulana Hayder Shirazi from Vancouver, to give us the third lecture in the series Adab Salat from the Kitab from Ayatollah Imam Khomeini. Bar Muhammad wa Muhammad Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأنجبين بهم نتولى ومن أعدائهم نتبرأ إلى الله اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل
We
فرجه.
ask Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to help us and count us among the Musallin. Musallin are those who establish prayers, those who keep up prayers. And this has been the wish, the desire of all of the Anbiya, of all of the Imams, of all of the Mu'mineen, whosoever, whenever an opportunity was given to them, aqamus salat, they established prayers, they kept up prayers. So to establish prayers, the first thing is that he has to know what salat is, bond with the salat, offer the salat, and only then can a person be enlisted among the musallin. And the first quality also that we mention and we state for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam when we recite his ziyarat, Ashhadu annaka qad aqamta as-salat. That is, we bear witness that you established prayers, you kept up prayers. So that is one of those divine qualities that we also have to work on and in getting closer to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. In Surah Nuh, the Almighty, He says that مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَرْجُونَ لِلَّهِ وَقَارًا, that what is the matter with you and you do not look upon Allah with veneration, with great respect, reverence, etc. So there are various stages in how we look upon Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, stand before Him in worship, and all of this that is being mentioned here will be is a lesson for myself first and to you all, brothers and sisters, a reminder. Now, tonight, inshallah, we'd like to talk about wuzu. That is, we want to get in on board to offer this salat, and to get to this gem that is salat. Taharat is required, ghusl, wudu, or tayammum, whichever. Now, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, La salata illa bitahur. That is, there is no salat, there is no prayer, but with taharat. Without tahur, no prayer. Or elsewhere in the riwayat, when we see that the key Imam states that is tahara, or mentions that half of one's iman, it is tahara. And in a wonderful quote, Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says that لأن يكون العبد طاهرا إذا قام بين يدي الجبار عند مناجاته. The reason why we perform wudu before we get on board and we offer prayers is because so that the servant, he is pure, he is cleansed, and when he stands before the Almighty, when he is whispering to the Almighty, he is pure from all impurities and all najasat. Now we believe, and it is haq, that Allahu Nurus Samawati wal Ard, that Allah, He is the light of the skies and the earth, and He is all pure. And we also want to get connected to Allah, so there a taharat and a purity is required. This purity, which gives us ability to get connected to the Almighty, is via ghusl, via wudu, via tayammum. And all of these three elements that we have, that is for taharat, that is wuzu, ghusl, and tayammum, all of them, they are divine. The Almighty, He has prescribed them, He has designed them for mankind. And inshallah, tonight we'll explore this whole wuzu concept, and then we come to understand get some insight and ma'rifah about this wuzu. So, with this purity, that is wuzu, all impurities they are removed. Impurities of the body and also impurities of the soul. مع ما فيه من ذهاب الكسل وطرد النعاس. Imam Rida, in this lengthy hadith, he further says that in addition to this wuzu removing impurities from the body, what it does is that it removes sluggishness, laziness, and it drives away this yawning, and it gives you energy and joy. Furthermore, تزكية الفؤاد للقيام بين يدي الجبار. This wuzu that I perform, it purifies the heart to stand before the Almighty God. Now, this nuraniyat that is given to us via the wuzu, it's amazing. That is why we are instructed to always be in wuzu. So always be connected, just like these Wi-Fi connections we have. We always strive and work on getting an internet connection which never drops. No internet connection. Always that connection has to be there. So if we want to be connected to the Almighty all the time without any dropping connections, the best way is by this Nuraniyat, and that is by wudu. Recognized and this wuzu also has been recognized, and it resembles as nur, light. Before going to bed, be in wuzu. Hadith says that all of your night, that you it will be occupied as if in worship. Exceptionally emphasized for du'as during the when you want to recite du'as, wuzu is required. Recite Quran, wuzu is required. Ziyarat, many other good deeds. If you want to go and visit someone who is ill, be in wuzu. It has a special effect on him and on you. If someone is dying and you want to go and visit him, be by his bedside, says that be in wuzu, be in taharat. But many reasons are there for this. Now, one of the simple reasons that we can say is because we believe that Imam Amirul Mu'mineen Ali alayhi salatu wassalam and the A'imma, they come to greet that person who is departing from this world, whosoever he be. Now we are sitting there and they will be there. So one of the reasons why we now this is very one of the reasons. Now, there are many other benefits and effects that a wuzu has in all these different circumstances. Now, with reference to wudu, again, the same riwayat from Imam Rida alayhi salam, it continues and says that إنما أمر بالوضوء ليكون العبد طاهرا إذا قام بين يدي الجبار, that when he's standing before the Almighty God, he is pure, he is cleansed from all indecencies. And then he says the reason why Allah Ta'ala has obligated these different parts in the wuzu, that you wash your hands first, and then you wash your face, and then you wash your right hand and the left hand and the head and the toe and the top of your foot, says because when a servant he is standing in worship before the Almighty, these are the parts of his body that are evident before him, before the Almighty God. So he purifies these mandatory parts, that I wash my face, I wash my right hand and my left hand, wipe my head with the remaining water, and then wipe my feet with the remaining water in my hands, and then says ذَلِكَ أَنَّهُ يُوَجِّهُهُ وَيَسْجُدُ وَيَخْضَعُ, because he is facing the Almighty. And because he is bowing down in ruku and in sajda, he humbles himself before God. So these are the limbs and these are the parts of my body that are facing and that are evident before the existence of the Almighty. And then he purifies this, and this is the mandatory part of the wuzu. Now, then Imam continues and he says that, now why do I wash my hands in wuzu? Says, with his hands he asks and he hopes and he cries as he's presenting his needs and requirements before the existence of God. So that is why the hands are washed in the wuzu. Then Imam continues and says that وَبِرَأْسِهِ يَسْتَقْبِلُهُ فِي رُكُوعِهِ وَسُجُودِهِ وَبِرِجْلَيْهِ يَقُومُ وَيَقْعُدُ. The reason why he wipes his head in wuzu and then his feet, with his head he is facing the Qibla. And when he bows down in ruku also, it's that face, it's that head that is navigating all the way through and keeping him aligned and in line with the Qibla. One of the Maraji Taqleed of 1950s is Ayatollah al-Uzma Burujerdi. Now, his opinion regarding the Qibla, he says that in Qibla, if you are facing the Qibla and a little bit of a right and left unknowingly you stand, yet you will get to the Qibla. Because Allah, He's designed, He's made the forehead in a curve way. And if you start drawing lines, even if you are a little bit tilted from the Qibla, when you start drawing lines from your forehead towards the Kaaba, one line will definitely hit the Kaaba because of the shape of the forehead that Allah has. So here, this head of mine, it's navigating me all the way towards the Qibla in Ruku and in Sajda. And then he says that with this head I face the Qibla in Ruku and Sujood, and with the help of my legs, again with that is the part of where I wipe my feet in wuzu, it is aqumu wa aq'ud, that with the help of my legs I'm standing and I'm sitting in my prayers. That's why we say bihawlillah wa quwwatihi aqumu wa aq'ud, that is by the might of Allah, wa quwwatihi, his might, aqumu, I stand, wa aq'ud, and I sit. So that is again why the feet, they are wiped in wuzu. So these parts of the body that are constantly in motion and helping me connect to the Almighty, these are the parts that He has made wajib in wuzu. The believers, salikin is this person who is on track and on this journey towards Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Applies to you, applies to me, everyone who is in this field of suluk, journey towards Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This salik, he is constantly reminded that he is standing before Qadi al-Hajat, and he has to have that adab. Qadi al-Hajat, someone who fulfills, and he is that judge, he is that hakim, he is that provider who's going to provide all your needs. So with this wuzu and that adab that I'll be observing, I'm standing before this Qadi al Hajat. And how can we stand before him? With a dirty heart? We cannot. A heart filled with indecencies? We cannot. A filthy heart, a dirty body, tired, lazy, and sluggish? We cannot stand before him. For that reason, he made wuzu mandatory. And God also, he does not look at your face, he looks at your heart. So, what this wudu does, it purifies and it cleanses the heart of an individual. Now, we have this tathir, it is purification of the heart, which is essential requirement, without which, no matter how many times, how many oceans we wash these wuzu parts, they will never be purified. That tathir has to be applied to the heart first. That is, with this wuzu that I'm performing, I'm washing my face. Intention should be that, in very simple words, inshallah, in detail, we will talk about this tonight. But in very simple words, when you are performing wuzu, I'm washing my face. Here, I'm washing my hands initially. That all the wrong that I have done, I'm washing it away. God, this indecency which is material and which is present in my hand, it is being removed by this wuzu and washing away of my hands. In reality, I want you to remove the impurities that are in the heart. Hope that's one. And then when I wash my face, that all the wrong that I have done with this face, Allah, and when I pour that water, it in wuzu, when you perform wuzu, it isn't as such that I just take that water and I wet my face. No, I have to pour that water on my, when I pour it on my forehead, it pours down a little bit, it moves towards the skin. So that movement, that pouring of that water from my hairline all the way on my forehead and my face, means it is the removal of the sins, the wrong that I have done is being washed away. Now again, when I wash my right hand, when I pour water here, here also is the same rule, that the water has to flow. It has to flow downwards. So here again, the wrong that I have done that has been collected, and we believe there's an angel who is recording all my actions. So sins done with this hand, they are also being washed away, and I bring them all the way till my uh, edge of my fingers. So here the wrong is being removed. When I wash my left hand again, it's the same thing. When I wipe my head, so constantly I'm connecting myself to the Almighty Allah when I'm performing this wuzu. That removal of that wrong, removal of the wrong, because I'm getting connected to someone who is all pure, who is all haq, who is all ameen, and who is all safety, all pure. So to get connected to that, all purity is required from me. So with this wuzu, I'm removing all the dirt and all the wrong on me. Now when we see the riwayat again, says طهر قلبك بالتقوى. So how do you purify your heart? With taqwa. What is taqwa? Taqwa, its own those do's and don'ts that we have. Taqwa level one, belief in the one God, and that is belief in the hereafter. I believe in Him. I believe in the guidance that He has sent forth, and I believe in the day of judgment. So, with this fundamental package of taqwa, a person will be called a mu'min and a Shia. Now, we've got an upgraded version of this taqwa, and that is all the do's and all the don'ts that have been mentioned by the Prophet. He has taught us, when I apply those do's and don'ts, then I become a mu'min who is muttaqi and also adil. So, adil means because I'm performing all the wajibat, putting away all the muharramat, I'll be adil. So that way, a person will accept my testimony. A person can offer his prayers behind me if I um, to being a qazi, a judge, and all that. All that is this basic requirement that is required. So says tahir qalbaka bit taqwa. You purify your heart with taqwa. That is that iman, the upgraded version, the second level of iman. That is wajibat and muharramat. All of them they are being observed. And then says, طهر قلبك بالتقوى واليقين. That is, you strengthen your heart. You purify your heart with taqwa and with yaqeen. How is that? عند طهارة جوارحك بالماء. When you are performing wuzu with water, there you purify, that is, you purify your heart with taqwa, and also at the same time that taharat is being observed. So all these beautiful little tips, if you just keep them in mind when we are performing that wuzu, a better taharat will be observed. Now, when we look into the ayah of wuzu, Quran says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, O you who believe, إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, that when you stand for salat, when you stand for prayer, فَغَسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, you wash your face, وَأَيْدِيكُمْ, and your hands up to the elbows, إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, you wipe your heads, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, and your feet, إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, you wipe your feet until your ankles. That is that entire ayah that talks about wuzu. And then says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ جُنُبًا, and for if you were junub, and a major hadas has been done, and ghusl has become wajib on you, فَالطَّهَرُ, that is, you perform that taharat. وَإِن كُنْتُمْ مَرْضَى أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ أَوْ جَاءَ أَحَدٌ منكم من الغائط أَوْ لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَلَمْ تَجِدُوا مَاءً فَتَيَمَّمُوا. If you were ill, if you were traveling and you couldn't find water, and ghusl was wajib on you and you could not perform ghusl, in such case, what do? فَتَيَمَّمُوا, you perform a tayammum. صَعِيدًا طَيِّبًا فَامْسَحُوا بِوُجُوهِكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ. You in tayammum also, you wipe your face, and then your hands. مَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيَجْعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ حَرَجٍ. Now beautifully Allah has explained the entire process of wuzu, ghusl and tayammum in this one ayah. Now, one of the things that we have to observe is in this wuzu, it has many benefits. One of the benefits is this hygiene. And in this pandemic, when everyone was saying that you need to wash your hands, you need to wash your hands so many seconds, and for this virus to be away from you, we already have um, these rulings where you have to be clean. That before you perform your wuzu, you have to wash your hands 3 times. We do that, and so many times we wash our hands. If someone offers his prayers 3 times a day, he washes at least 3 times, 5 times, or even if he offers more prayers. If it's someone who is always in wuzu, means that there is no chance of this virus getting closer to them. So first benefit of this wuzu, it is hygiene. Secondly, ethical benefits in obedience to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And then we find that it's the keys to prayers. As the Prophet has said, Al-wudu miftahus salat, nisful iman, it's half of your faith. Al-wudu nisful iman, al-wudu faridatun, it is mandatory, it is wajib. Now benefits for always being in wuzu. These are things that we have to apply on ourselves. There are certain actions that help a lot. Like, for example, always being occupied in zikr. And there are people who recite Quran a lot or recite salawat a lot, istighfar a lot, da'imul zikr, da'imul salat, da'imul qira'ah. So and likewise, there are people who are da'imul wudu, always in wudu. Now, those who recite salawat a lot. Now, this is one of those amazing stories that we have. Inshallah, when we talk about salawat, I mentioned that over here also doesn't matter, just for a little change. In the study circle of Marhum Imam Khomeini, there was someone who smelled very good. He had a beautiful fragrance. And everyone, they knew that the fragrance that he carries is something not from this world, it's beyond. And one of those people present over there, he says that it was such that he carried such a beautiful fragrance that even if he passed in the streets or if he came to someone's house and he is at the door knocking, those inside the house, they knew who is at the door because of that beautiful fragrance he has. One day, one of those people, they asked him, we know that this fragrance that you have, it doesn't belong to this world. It is from beyond. Just wanted to know what is that. And this person also is someone who recites a lot of salawat upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. He says in one of the visitations that I had, in Mukashafat that I had, I saw there's a meeting and there are about 60, 70 people present in that room. And the Holy Prophet, he is also present in that majlis. The Prophet, he inquires, addressing us all in that majlis, that who recites the most salawat upon me? So I said, this person, that I do recite salawat, but there might be someone else present here who recites more than me. So I was quiet. For the second time, he posed the same question with the same answer in my mind. I did not stand or reply. For the third time, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he asks the same question with the same answer. I was quiet. Says, after this, I saw the Prophet. He rose, he stood, he came to me and he kissed me. As a result of that kiss of the Prophet, I was blessed with this fragrance. So this is the result, that that person, he was da'imus salawat, always reciting salawat. How many thousand times in a day, I don't know. Likewise, being da'imul wudu, always in wuzu, that also has amazing benefits. Here, with reference to wudu, the Prophet, he says that la yuhafidhu ala al-wudu illa kullu mu'min. That is, it is every mu'min is one who will abide by this wuzu, who will give importance to this wuzu. He will protect this wuzu. So what are the effects? First of all, purification of the body, forgiveness of sins, acceptance of du'as, because one of the requirements in getting du'as accepted is being in the state of wuzu. And someone who is always in wuzu means always that Wi-Fi connection is there, no dropping of lines, so he's always connected. Plentiful rizq. Wuzu helps in tamarkuz, meaning that he can focus better. His heart will be much more alert, removes laziness, removes sluggishness from him. And Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that one who performs wuzu and dries his hands and face, he gets only one hasana. The adab, the teaching taught by Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, is that you perform your wuzu with cold water, and once you've done your wuzu, you don't dry your face and your hands. Let that water dry on your skin. So that will increase the sawab by 30 hasanat. So if you do your wuzu and dry your hands and face, one hasana. And if you perform your wuzu and do not dry your face and your hands, you get 30 hasana. That is that much of an, and also wuzu should be done with cold water, Imam says. And there are many wisdoms and hikmat mentioned over here for performing this wuzu with cold water and not drying it. Plus, then he says that when you are always in the state of wuzu, a long age you will be blessed with, removal of sins, and when washing face, when washing the hands, have that mindset that I'm removing all the wrong, that's a tawbah and istighfar. Wuzu, it's a repentance and seeking forgiveness of Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So always in wuzu, sleeping in wuzu will be worship, and enlightened in akhirah will be my nation. The Prophet, he says that, and my nation will be excelled and enlightened for this wuzu they performed in this dunya. So give importance to that, and always be. And a hadith also says that if you went to carry out a task, whatever that be, not only related to worship, any task, and then you did not get to what your aims were in that task, Imam says, if you were not in the state of wuzu, blame yourself. It was your fault. that wudu would have helped you in you getting to your task. So أكثر من الطهور يزد الله في عمرك. So with this wuzu, Allah will give you a long age. And says that أمتي الغر المحجلون من آثار الوضوء يوم القيامة. Says my nation on the day of judgment will be enlightened, will be shining, will be glowing by the effects of this wudu that they had done. The nation of Rasulullah, that is the Muslimin. So all these benefits are there. Now says that من توضع للمغرب كان وضوءه ذلك كفارة لما مضى من ذنوبه في نهاره ما خلا الكبائر. Imam says when you perform a wuzu at the time of Maghrib for your Maghrib prayers, says all the sins that were done before this Maghrib, they will all be removed. That will be a kafara. This wuzu will be a kafara, an atonement for the wrong done before Maghrib. Illa al-kabair, exception is major sins. ومن توضأ لصلاة الصبح كان وضوءه ذلك كفارة لما بقى من ذنوبه في ليلة إلا الكبائر. Now when you sleep, when you wake up, and then you want to perform your Fajr prayers, and it is your first wudu of the day, here says that this wuzu of yours will be again another atonement, another kafara for all the sins that were done prior to that Fajr and at night. Exception will be kaba'ir, the major sins. So that is such beautiful. That is Allah wa ta'ala. He has given. Now, throughout, when we see these actions of worship, salat, wudu, tayammum, istighfar, all of them, it is as if Allah is He just is after trapping us, bringing us closer and closer to Him. He's only after excuses that somehow I want this servant of mine to come back to me. If you were not focused within the wuzu, if you're not focused in your prayers, and then you've done your prayers and you just bow down in sajda and say shukran lillah, shukran lillah, shukran lillah a few times, there Allah says to the angels, were you not the ones who were objecting on me when I created human beings, when I created Adam, and you said he's the one who's going to cause corruption in the land? I knew what I have created. This sajda of shukr and thanks that my servant has bowed down before me, and that sajda shukr, it's not even wajib, it's mustahab out of his own love and desire. He's performing it. Says for that one sajda and for that what he's saying, shukran lillah to me, whatever he wants, he asks me, I will give. So again, over there we see that somehow Allah wants to forgive us. He is after getting ourselves closer and closer to Him. Now, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, he quotes this hadith and says that the Prophet such said that man tawadda'a misla wudu'i, that someone who performs a wuzu like my wuzu, wa qala misla qawli, and he says just like what I say, خلق الله تبارك وتعالى من كل قطرة ملكا, says by every drop of wuzu, every drop. Now when you're washing your face, I don't know how many thousand drops will be there, says that many angels will be created by the droplets of that wuzu water of yours. And those angels, their task will be to perform tasbih and taqdees and takbir, to praise and to glorify the Almighty Allah. And says all those droplets transformed into angels, praising and glorifying the Almighty Allah, says فَيَكْتُبُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ ثَوَابَ ذَلِكَ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. The reward of that lauding and praising and glorifying of the angels formed by those droplets of water will be all recorded and registered in your a'mal until the day of judgment. So that is that beauty of wuzu. Man tawadda'a fa'ahsan al-wudu fa'ahsan al-wuzu kharajat khatayahu min jasadih. And when you perform your wuzu and you've done it nicely, rightfully, and as you are taught and trained by the Aimma alayhimus salam says that the wrong that was done by you, all of that will be removed. So, first things first, this wuzu, we have to work on it and get it right. Let perform it nicely, correctly, and get it checked from your local alim or someone who can help you. And this wuzu has to be done. And now, this whatever is being mentioned today, it's to top up the quality of that wuzu. So, first things that we know how that wuzu has to be done, and now we want to increase the quality of that wuzu. Now, on one of the meetings that the Prophet had with Iblis, now all of the prophets they had meetings with Iblis, with Shaitan. Now, in this meeting that Rasulullah has with Iblis, he says that Iblis, Kam asdiqa'ukum min ummati, ya Iblis. Rasulullah says, how many friends do you have from my nation? Now, Iblis is replying. He says, Al Amirul Ja'ir means a tyrant ruler. Wal Ghaniyul Mutakabbir, an arrogant rich person, wealthy guy. والذي لا يبالي من أين يكتسب وفيما ينفقه, and someone who doesn't care where he's earning from and how he's spending. Then والعالم الذي صدق الأمير على جوره, an alim who certifies and testifies a ruler on his oppression, doesn't stand against him, he is okay with what that zalim is doing. والتاجر الخائن, a trader, a businessman who is a cheater. والمحتكر, someone who hoards. والزاني, an adulterer. وأكل الربا والبخيل, and someone who eats on jury, and someone who is tight-fisted. والذي لا يبالي من أين يجمع المال, and he doesn't care from where he is holding all that wealth. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله. Now the Prophet says, asks Iblis, now who his enemies were, he lists them. Now says, Kam a'da'uka min ummati, from my nation Iblis, tell me who are your enemies. Now he says, I've got 16 enemies, 16 groups of people who are my enemies. First of all, Anta, Ya Muhammad, my first enemy is you, Ya Muhammad, the Apostle, Sallallahu Alaihi wa alihi Wasallam. Inni ubghiduka, I hate you. Wal alim al amil bil ilm, and an alim who practices what he preaches and the knowledge that he has. وحامل القرآن إذا عمل بما فيه, and someone who has acquired the Quran and he practices what he has learned from the Quran. And then says, وَالْمُؤَذِّن لِلَّهِ خَمْسَةَ أَوْقَاتٍ, someone who is a muazzin, recites the azan 5 times a day. مُحِبُّ الْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, someone who loves the fuqara, the needy and the destitute. وَالْيَتَامَى, and the orphans. وَذُو قَلْبٍ رَحِيمٍ, someone who is kind. وَالْمُتَوَاضِعْ لِلْحَقِّ, someone who humbles before haqq and right. وَشَابٌ نَشَأَ فِي طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي يُصَلِّي بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسِ نِيَامٌ, and a young lad, young man, who in obedience to Allah, he stands in worship at night and everyone else is sleeping. وَالَّذِي يُمْسِكُ نَفْسَهُ عَنِ الْحَرَامِ, whoever guards himself from haram is my enemy. وَالَّذِي يَنْصَحُ فِي اللَّهِ, someone who propagates and gives advice for the sake of God is my enemy. And then he says, وَالَّذِي أَبَدًا يَكُونُ عَلَى الْوُضُوءِ, and one of my enemies is him who is always in wuzu. So this wudu is important. So wudu, it gets us connected to God. So once you are connected to God, you cannot be connected to Iblis. So it's either one of the connections, either this one or that one. So if we are in wudu all the time, means all the time Iblis is away from us. And here in this hadith, he lists this person who is always in the state of wudu as the enemy of Iblis. So in line where he says, Anta ya Muhammad, you are my enemy, Likewise, someone who is always in the state of wuzu is also my enemy. وحسن الخلق, someone who is well mannered. والمصدق بما ضمن الله له, and someone who testifies and attests that what Allah has mentioned. والمحسنات المستورات والمستعد للموت, and women who are chaste and who are covered, and also someone who is always prepared for his death. وصاحب السخاء, people who are generous. These are my enemies. So when we look into and analyze these enemy list, there are 16, we come to know and get a better picture of what are the things that we need to apply on ourselves so that we are away from Iblis. Now, coming back to the same topic, and that is on wudu. So, wudu, always be in the state of wudu, always Iblis will be away from us. Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Now we are applying a high quality wuzu on ourselves. Now we have been performing wuzu all this time, but now giving it a spiritual uplift, a heavy dose. Says إذا أردت الطهارة والوضوء فتقدم إلى الماء تقدمك إلى رحمة الله. Says when you are performing wuzu and you have stretched your hand towards that water, says فَتَقَدَّمَ إِلَى الْمَاءِ تَقَدُّمَكَ إِلَى رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Says, think that, have this mindset that you are stretching, extending, and you are getting towards the mercy of Allah. Why? فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى قَدْ جَعَلَ الْمَاءَ مِفْتَاحَ قُرْبَتِهِ وَمُنَاجَاتِهِ. Because Allah, He has made that water the keys to His closeness, to His nearness, and to His whispering, to His munajat. وَدَالًا إِلَى بَسَاطِ خِدْمَتِهِ. And this is one of the means that Allah has created which guides you towards the service of God. So, stretching your hands towards water means towards the mercy of Allah. And then, كَمَا أَنَّ رَحْمَتَهُ تَطْهُرُ ذُنُوبَ الْعِبَادِ. And then, just like that, His mercy of Allah, it cleanses and purifies the wrong of this, that a person has done. In all these statements that we just recited, all these riwayat, they said that you perform a wuzu at night, the sins of the day are forgiven. Here in this hadith says, just like this mercy of Allah, it removes the sins of His servants. فَكَذَلِكَ النَّجَاسَاتِ الظَّاهِرَةِ يَطْهُرُهَا الْمَاءُ لَا غَيْرُ. Says all these najasat and impurities that we have, for example, blood is there, or urine is there in my hand, some kind of a najasat. I've touched a corpse, I've touched a dead rat, so my hand is najis. So how will that najasat be removed? By water. Nothing else can purify my hand. That najasat will never be removed by anything but water. فَكَذَلِكَ النَّجَاسَاتِ الظَّاهِرَةِ يَطْهُرُهَا الْمَاءُ. Just like the impurities of my soul, He removes, the impurities of my body, water removes. So when I come towards water, mindset should be, I've come towards the mercy of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And in Quran He says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ الرِّيَاحَ بُشْرًا بَيْنَ يَدَيْ رَحْمَتِهِ. And it is He who sends the winds, bushran, as bearers of good news of His mercy. Bushran bayna yaday rahmatih. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. So His winds, they are good news of His mercy. And from the skies He sent down water that is purifying. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. So water He has sent it down for purifying. Or elsewhere says وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. And we made every living thing out of water. فَكَمَا أَحْيَا بِهِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ مِّن نَعِيمِ الدُّنْيَا. And just like all of these blessings that you have in this world, all of those blessings, they emerged from water كذلك بفضله ورحمته جعل حياة القلوب بالطاعات. Just like he emerged and gave life to everything from water, says that by his mercy, by his grace, by his fadl, he will enliven and give hayat and life to your heart by worship. So just like water gave life to everything, that mercy of Allah also will enliven my heart. That life of the heart will be given to me by that mercy of Allah. So when I'm stretching my hand towards that water to get myself washed, that is towards the mercy of Allah. And like that water has given life to everything, this mercy of Allah also, via this wuzu, will give life to my heart. To think, ponder in the beauty, the purity, its ability to purify, its barakat, its grace, its contents, its ability to mix in everything. When you see water, out of all of these beautiful blessings of Allah Ta'ala, numerous, countless, water is such special that it gets along with everything. It mixes with everything. It's only water. So use the water to purify the wuzu parts the Almighty has commanded to purify. Observe the mandatory and these mustahab and the recommended commands that we have from the Ma'sumin throughout the wuzu. Now, what are these? The mandatory command is only wash your face, your right hand and your left hand, masha of your wiping your head and your 2 feet. Mustahab actions, that is, wash your hands 3 times, wash your mouth 3 times, rinse your nose 3 times, and then you take that water and pour it on your face first time, and then for the second time. And likewise on the right hand twice, and then left hand twice. So all these are the extra mustahabbat that we will be observing throughout the wuzu. Now, now then you can deal with the creation of God like that water. Now, all of these commands that we have, wajibat and the mustahabbat, all of them, they have benefits. Every one of them has a benefit in it. If there is an effect in it, there is an asar in it. Those who observe all of them, they see all of the benefits. Someone who just sticks to that wajib, he just gets the benefit of that wajib. Now then you deal with the creation of God like that water. So water, it mixes with everything. You also, when you have got connected to that mercy of God via this wuzu and with that water, you also get connected with the creation of God just like that water. So you get along with everyone easily. You can mix with everyone easily. So giving everyone their right, that is also, it becomes easy. Just like the saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, where he says in that beautiful quote, مَثَلُ الْمُؤْمِنِ الْخَالِصِ كَمَثَلِ الْمَاءِ, says a sincere mu'min is like water. Just like water, with all these beauties and these blessings that were mentioned, that is, cleanses, it purifies, it enlivens, it gives life, it gets along, it mixes along with everyone, it is good to everyone, no matter who he be. And now that you are like water, your interaction with the Almighty should be like that water. So just the same effect that water had on you, you have the same water, that same effect when you communicate with the Almighty Allah, just like how He sent it down tahura and pure. So purify your heart with taqwa, with yaqeen when you are applying taharat through water. Now, there is one more hadith I'd like to recite. And that is when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he ascends to the Mi'raj, he says that ثم قال ربي عز وجل, the Almighty, he said to me, Ya Muhammad, مد يدك فيتلقاك ما يسيل من ساق عرشي الأيمن. That is when you are performing wuzu and when you stretch your hands towards water, your right hand towards water, that is that water that came out from the right side of my arsh, from my throne. فنزل الماء فتلقيته باليمين. And this water, it poured down from the right and it met your right. And فمن أجل ذلك أول الوضوء باليمنى. And that is why the first component or that first part of that wuzu that we have, it's the right hand. And then ثم قال يا محمد خذ ذلك فاغسل به وجهك. Take it and wash your face. وعلمه ذلك, and Allah He educates that to the Prophet. فإنك تريد أن تنظر إلى عظمتي وأنت طاهر. Why do you wash your face, Ya Muhammad? Says the reason for that is because you are going to look at my greatness, my azama, with that face. So that face has to be washed. وأنت طاهر, and you are pure. ثم اغسل ذراعيك اليمين واليسار وعلمه ذلك, and then he washes his right hand and the left hand and says that was taught to the Prophet. فإنك تريد أن تتلقى بيديك كلامي. That is because you are going to get connected to my word with those two hands of yours. Getting connected to my word, that is why your hands also, they need to be pure and purified. فإنك تريد أن تتلقى بيديك كلامي وامسح بفضل ما في يديك من الماء رأسك ورجليك إلى الكعبين وعلمه المسح برأسه ورجليه. He then taught him to perform that mass with the remaining water on his head and on the top of his feet. وقال إني أريد أن أمسح رأسك وأبارك عليك. I want to wipe this. You wipe your head with that and make it Mubarak. فأما المسح على رجليك فإني أريد أن أوتيك. And then these wiping of your feet that you perform, I want you to place your step in a place no one has ever placed or stepped, or no one will ever step. So that is that mass of the feet that Allah Ta'ala He teaches the Holy Prophet. Now, taharat, it is the removal of stains, just like najasat, it is removed from the body and the clothes. Um, taharat also does the same. Stains have to be removed from the soul, and wudu, it is that twin cleansing formula. Twin cleansing meaning that it's removing the dirt and the impurities from my hands and my face, that zahir of my body, and at the same time it is cleansing my soul, that heart, because I'm doing that in obedience to Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. So all these beautiful teachings we have from the Ma'asumin, and one of the other mustahabbat, it's generally in the masajid, they have this printed and they have it on the walls, and it's that is every part of the wuzu, there is a dua that Bismillah wa billah walhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala al-ma'a tahura wa lam yaj'alhu najisa. When you see and look at water, you say all Bismillah and all praise to Allah who has made this water pure and did not make it najis. So if you have memorized these du'as, good. If you haven't, doesn't matter. You can have the meaning of that, or even if you don't want to say the meaning, now everything is you can have that in your mind that I'm performing this wuzu qurbatan ilallah. One of the ways to have this focus is don't take your devices, your mobiles and your gadgets and your tablets to the washroom, put them aside and focus when you are performing this wuzu that I'm doing it qurbatan ilallah. So for some time we have to be away from these gadgets and devices and focus whilst eating, whilst performing wuzu, and uh, all the time getting connected with this rubbish or these gadgets and devices means all the time disconnected from where we have to be focused and get connected to. So this Iblis also has made this device such that we are always connected to the devices, disconnected from him who we have to be connected to. So whilst performing wuzu, have that little time. Focus this water, all praise to Allah, you made it tahir and pure. You did not make it najis. Now that when I'm watching my I take the water in my hand. I say, Allahumma ja'alni min at-tawwabin. Make me among those who repent. Wa ja'alni min al-mutatahhirin. Make me among those who are pure. And then when I am rinsing my mouth, washing my mouth, there I say, Allahumma laqqini hujjati yawma alqaq wa atliq lisani bi, that Allah make it as such that when I meet you on the day, there this talqeen and the that what will be uttering from me, will be uttered by me, will be your praise and your remembrance. So with this mouth of mine that I'm washing now, it should be your praise and your remembrance that I will be, especially on the day when I will be meeting you. And then when I'm rinsing my nose, I say, Allahumma la tahrim ala alayya rih al jannah waj'alni mimman yashummu rihaha wa ruhaha wa tibaha. Says Allah, don't make me among those on whom the fragrance of the heaven has been banned and forbidden. Make me among those who smell the fragrance of the heaven, the ruh, the soul of the heaven, and also the beauty and the purity of the heaven. Now, when I'm washing my face, I say, Allahumma bayyid wajhi yawma taswaddu fihi al-wujuh. Allah, enlighten my face the day when faces will be darkened. وَلَا تَسْوَدُّ وَجْهِي. Do not darken my face the day when faces will be enlightened. That is the dua. If you know the Arabic, good. If you don't know, then that whilst performing washing the face. When you're washing your right hand, say Allahumma a'atini kitabi biyamini. God, give my book in my right hand. That is my action report. Quran says in Surah Al-Haqqa and many other places that when the book will be given in the right hand means you are successful. Proceed, nothing to be asked. وَأَمَّا مَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ. And the yameen means the right hand. When the book is given in the right hand means successful, progressing, leading, extending, go. وَالْخُلْدَ فِي الْجِنَانِ بِيَسَارِي وَحَاسِبْنِي حِسَابًا يَسِيرًا. And Allah, take an easy account from me. When you're washing your left hand, you say, Allahumma la tu'tini kitabi bishimali. God, do not give my hand in my book in my left hand. Wala min wara'i zahiri. And all these are ayat that you have in Surah Al-Haqqa, that when the statement of account will be given in the right hand, what happens? In the left hand, what happens? When it will be given behind my back, what will happen? And then we ask Allah not to give the statement of account in my left hand when I'm washing my left hand and performing that wuzu. And then when I'm performing that mas of my head, I say, Allahumma ghashini rahmatak wa barakatak wa afwak. Allah, drown me, cover me, shelter me in your mercy, in your barakah, in your forgiveness. And then finally, when I'm performing the wiping of my feet, Allahumma thabbitni ala sirat. Allah, keep me firm on the sirat. On the day of judgment, when I have to walk from the sirat, and whosoever passes the sirat, he will be safe. And everyone has to pass on the sirat. In Surah Maryam says, In minhum illa wariduha kana ala rabbika hatman maqdiya. Everyone will pass. The reporter, he says, I asked the Prophet, will you also pass on the Sirat? He says, yes. Now I'll pass from the Sirat like a flash. Now, if we want to be firm on the Sirat while performing the wiping of the feet in your wuzu, have that dua that Allah, keep me firm on the Sirat, do not shake me on the Sirat. وَاجْعَلْ سَعْيِي فِي مَا يُرْضِيكَ عَنِّي يَا ذَا الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. And Allah, make it as such that whatever my efforts are, whatever I do in this world, all of that be for the contentment and the rida of yours. Ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram, O exalted, O God, the Almighty. Now, this was a little bit about wudu and what we have in the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Now, all this is only in the schools of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. If you want to learn Ahlul Bayt, want to know Ahlul Bayt, nowhere else, no other door, no other outlet can a person find anything such magnificent, such beautiful, and get us connected to the existence of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, where it says in that ziyarat antumus siratul aqwam. You, the Ahlul Bayt, you, the Imams, are that path, that sirat, aqwam, that is firm, that is strong, and you are the ones that will, the cord, the handle, the strong handle that we hold and will help us get to Allah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Ya Allah, بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها يا الله يا الله يا الله اللهم أحينا حياة محمد وآل محمد وأمتنا ممات محمد وآل محمد اللهم ارزقنا في الدنيا زيارة محمد وآل محمد وفي الآخرة شفاعة محمد وآل محمد. Any questions? I'm here to answer.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you, Maulana, for such an amazing, beautiful lecture. And inshallah, we can all grow from the lecture and implement everything that we have learned today. So, Momini, we're starting the Q&A section for today. I see that there was no questions as of right now. So I did get a question earlier from a Mominin, so I can ask this question while we are waiting. Again, Mominin, if you would like to ask a question, please go to the YouTube link and in the comment sections, post your questions below, and we can ask and we can get the answer. So the question was that if you are doing prayer and you're in a noisy environment, if you put in headphones, is there any ruling that you cannot put in headphones in order to cancel out if there's like just like noise canceling and you cancel out the background noise just to do namaz, is that allowed or is there any ruling against that?
So you want to have a hi-fi, high-tech namaz, a smart.
Hi. Yes, a smart namaz that can just cancel out every background noise, get us more focused.
Yeah, for that smart namaz, you can have all those gadgets and you can, but try not to do it. It doesn't matter if you want to have a headphone just to have that voice cancellation, because sometimes people, they can concentrate better if they close their eyes. Doesn't matter, they can close their eyes. If there's so much of noise in that place that you're offering your prayers, there, yeah, doesn't matter, you can have it. But it's better to avoid all that. Stand in a place where you can focus without these additional gadgets on you. Now, the whole idea is that somehow we have to get rid of these gadgets,
Yeah.
and then and when you want to add the same gadgets in namaz also, your first priority is that don't do it. But if you are in a place that there is no other option and your salat time is going to come to an end and you don't want to lose that, then yeah, in a 911 situation, you can do it.
That is a beautiful answer. I know. Now I know.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's any other questions. I don't see any. So I'll ask another question.
Yeah.
So during Salat, if you were to close your eyes, you could essentially, I've heard or I've asked about it, and scholars have said that you shouldn't close your eyes during the full namaz. But is it allowed for you to close your eyes, or is it like you should refrain? But if you need be to help focus, you should focus with it, and you can close your eyes.
Yeah, if you can focus better whilst closing your eyes, doesn't matter, you can close them.
No.
Yeah.
Again, Mu'mineen, if you would like to ask any question, please feel free to put as a comment on the YouTube link so we will both be able to see and ask the question. I just received another question. The question is
Yeah.
the question is how much movement is allowed during Salat? Can someone move 2 steps forward or backward
No movement.
without
Movement is
changing
not allowed.
direction?
Movement is not allowed at all. Um, when you stand in Salat and you've said your Takbiratul Ihram, you don't move. You have to stand as you have stood. Even sometimes people they get tired and they raise their feet a little bit up and down. That is also not permitted. So you have to stand without any movement all the way through from Takbiratul Ihram until you've said your Salam. Not allowed to move.
So it breaks the qiyam,
Yeah,
the
that
wajib al-rukni. Rukni.
it's not, well, yeah, it's that those wajibat of namaz, one of them is that you have to be firm and stable. That's why you cannot say your prayers on a mattress because you can't stand firm. You're going to be wobbly and that's going to be a soft surface. You can't stand and say your prayers on a soft surface where you can't be stable.
That was a great answer. I have another question. I received another question. The question is, when doing wudu, does the water have to be running from a tap, or if it's just a puddle and it's not running, could you use that water as wudu?
Yeah, you can. No, by running water, I meant that when you pour the water on your face, that when you pour this water on your face here, it has to pour down like that. It just drops down from my face. So not that I just dip my hand and I wipe my face. No, it has to pour. That's what I meant. It has to pour from your face. If you want to take that water from a puddle, that doesn't matter. That you can do it, but still it has to pour and it has to drop from your face.
Uh, I will add on to that question. So if it's from a puddle and you're in a place that you could not find water that you 100% know is pure, could you still use that? Could you still use the water that's like in a puddle somewhere if there is no other resources that you know that's immediately that is core or pure pak?
Yeah, even if it's not core and you know that it's pak, it's clean. That's fine. You can still perform water wuzu with that. It doesn't need to be core. You see, there's a bucket of water, and yeah, it's clean. That's enough.
Okay, so if you are somewhere in the nature and you see a puddle and you see it's fairly clean, then you could still use it.
Yes, you can use it. Yeah.
Okay, I have another question for you, Maulana.
Mm.
So the question is, when you go into sajda, your eyes are closed intentionally. Is it okay, or during sajda, are you supposed to keep your eyes open as well?
Throughout the namaz, if you feel that you can perform a better service by having your eyes closed, you can close them. Doesn't matter. You in qiraat, in ruku. Well, that what is mustahab is that when you say your takbiratul ihram and you're reciting the surahs, it is mustahab that you look at the place of your sajda. When you bow down in ruku, it's mustahab that you see between your 2 feet. And when in sajda, there's nowhere to look at, so you can have your eyes open or close, whatever you want. And then when you sit up after the sajda, you look at the place of your sajda again. So the focus throughout namaz will be not beyond the place of sajda and then not behind between your 2 feet. It's between the 2 feet and that sajda. That is that entire maneuver that your eyes and your sight can have. But if you think that by closing your eyes you will be able to focus better and perform a better service, you can close.
Beautiful. We have another question, and the question was in regards to wudu. You stated as the surah and the ayat. Could you please restate that for the mu'mineen that were listening?
Which surah?
Uh, it doesn't state in the question the name of the surah. I think they're asking if you could name the surah and the ayat that you mentioned in regards to wudu, that wudu was mentioned in the Quran.
Oh, you mean the ayah of wuzu you want to know? Oh,
Yes.
ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha qumtum ila salat. Yeah, I'll give it to you in a moment. What's the other question?
As for right now, we don't have any other questions.
Yeah, it's Surah Al-Ma'idah. Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 6.
Surah Ma'idah. Okay.
Yeah, ayah number 6.
Ayat number 6. Beautiful. So, Mumineen, I would like to say it again. If you have any questions, please post them as a comment on the YouTube link. And if not, you could also text my number. I could ask the questions as well. The number is 214-600-6953. We will be ending the Q&A in about 5 to 10 minutes. So please ask away. So another question that was asked is the 19 times of saying Bismillah, do we have to do it at the beginning or could we do it anytime?
Yeah, the 19 times when you are doing the wuzu anytime, and you're still occupying in performing the wuzu, just repeat that Bismillah. Yeah, anywhere in the wuzu. Whilst you're still busy in wuzu, anytime you can say that.
Beautiful. So another question of mine, while we're waiting, is whenever we're doing Jamaat Salat, like we're doing Jamaat Salat at home, so is it more recommended, or does the positioning of the person that is following, does it matter if they can be on the left side or the right side?
For the person joining in Jamaat,
Yes.
it must have to be on the right of the Imam. If it's only one person, then he stands on the right of the Imam.
And he should be one step behind the Imam as well.
Yeah, when he bows down and when he is in sajda, his sajda it's towards the knee, adjacent to the knee of the Imam.
Thank you so much for that answer. I will, Mumineen, if there's no questions, you guys are not asking questions, I will take up all the time and ask Maulana all the questions. So please let us know your questions. So another question was asked. I think it was asked because of the former question or the latter question about movement in namaz. So any type of movement that you do, does that disrupt the qiyam and as a result it invalidates the whole namaz?
Yeah, any kind of movement like what? Like moving your hands. Moving your hands would not nullify or disrupt the namaz. It's moving of the legs and how you stand, the posture. You are standing and then you start moving around a little bit, roaming around, raising your feet. That is going to disrupt it. Now, here, if you did do that by mistake, the best would be put yourself back in station and then go back and whatever you were recited, repeat that recitation. That way you can correct it. But no, if the movement was quite a lot, then that's going to nullify and make that namaz batil and void. Just like when you were in a plane, for example, and then the plane starts turning around. So you were reciting and you were in the state of ruku, and the plane was moving in the direction of the qibla. Now it turns. Now you also have to pause your prayers and let the plane turn where it's turning to. And once it's taken the complete turn, then you move back towards the qibla. And wherever you had paused reciting, from there you continue. Here also it's the same thing. If you had those movements unintentionally in your prayer, you stable yourself and then you go back to the recitation and then start reciting that many sentences or ayat that you had recited and then continue with the prayer.
Thank you for that answer, Maulana. The next question is it mustahab to recite Surah Inna Anzalna during your wudu? Is it any mustahabat towards reciting that surah?
There are so many mustahabat in wuzu, like Ayatul Kursi is mustahab, Bismillah is mustahab, any surah is mustahab. Whatever you want to recite, it's good. Recitation of Quran is always good. For wuzu, that what we have are these du'as that were mentioned, and then Surah Ayatul Kursi has been mentioned. You can recite whatever you like, you recite. However many times you want, you recite.
So, Momineen, please text in your questions. We will be ending our session at 9:20, so we have 4 minutes. So, any questions you have, please post them. So, a question was asked, Malana: can namaz be paused and open the door, or any action without changing direction? Few steps while namaz is paused and direction is not changed. So, any few steps during namaz,
If
I
you're
guess, is
opening
the
the
question.
door with the phone, if there's a smartphone, that doesn't matter. But if you want to move around and go back and forward and then open, no, any major movement in the namaz will make it batil. You don't move. So opening, and if you are bound to open the door and then there's no one there, what you do is that you switch your niyat from your wajib prayer to a mustahab prayer. That is, I just switch my niyat to, for example, I was saying my Zohr prayers, I'm moving it to my nafile Zohr. When I've moved my niyat from wajib to mustahab, I can break my mustahab prayers now. So the best way, if you want to go and open the door, is to switch from a wajib niyat of a prayer to a mustahab prayer. And a mustahab prayer, you can abandon it. Okay?
Amazing answer. Let's see if there's.
It's only 4 minutes. Try to focus on the 4 minutes and then you can do whatever you want after the namaz.
So the answer. So the next question is: can you give a response to salam during
Yeah,
namaz?
salam is wajib. If someone greets you with salam whilst you are saying your prayers, it is wajib that you have to reply to him. Now, if you entered and I was praying and you said to me, Salamun alaikum, I have to reply back. And the reply also will be Salamun alaikum. Not alaikum salam, not salam, no, Islam alaikum, nothing like that. It has to be Salamun alaikum. If you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh, my reply will be Salamun alaikum. I will not say wa alaikum salam. So in the salam that I will reply in my prayers, always salam is first. Salam is muqaddam. So wa alaikum salam I cannot say in prayers. Salamun alaikum, it has to be always like that. Salamun alaikum. Reply will be Salamun alaikum. And if he is someone hard in hearing, or he wants, you have to let him understand that you've replied to his salam. You can raise your hand and say Salamun alaikum, or just some kind of a pointing and ishara towards him, saying that you have replied to his salam.
So I so do you would you have to reply in the same manner that they have stated it?
No, no,
So if
no,
they say
not
Salaam
in the
alaikum
same
wa
manner.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Whatever manner he has. If he was an Iranian, he came in and he says salam. No, you say salamun alaikum. If it was from Pakistan, ji salam alaikum ji. तो आप जवाब में you'll say salamun alaikum. Whatever language that is, however he greets you with salam, your reply will be salamun alaikum all the time.
Perfect.
जी.
So Mu'mineen will be ending this session. If there's any last next minute of ours, be ending the session shortly. We'll take one more question. While we're waiting, I'll ask another question for Maulana. So Maulana, my question is: I've heard, and some scholars say, I don't know the exact like hadith or anything behind it, but I have heard in some speeches that if your mother is calling you or your mother is yelling your name, it is okay to break namaz. Is there any such ayat or hadith
Yeah,
to back that?
there is a hadith, but that applies to mustahab prayers. Mustahab prayers, even if your mommy is calling you and she's on the phone and you are in your mustahab prayers, you can abandon those prayers and you reply to her call. You reply to her when she's calling you. Yeah, that, for mustahab prayers, that fatwa is there. And for
Okay, so
wajib,
for wajib prayers, you can.
yeah, if for a wajib prayer, if you have to reply and there is some kind of an emergency, then the best way is to switch from wajib to mustahab and then reply. That's the safe mode. Okay.
Perfect. As I see that there is no other questions, uh, we, we can wrap up the session. So I wanted to thank you again, Malana, on behalf of Islamic Center of Moment, on behalf of the community. We all love the speeches. We always love to hear from you, the informative speeches. We always learn. And I myself have tried to apply everything that I've learned from you, and I wanted to thank you again. Inshallah, we love to hear next week what special things we will learn. And I wanted to ask and request if we could have Ammayujib for those who are ill and ailing, those who are sick um, throughout this time, and whoever has been affected by the pandemic for their family, if we could recite 5 times Ammayujib.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولمن وجب له حق علينا ولمن وصانا بالدعاء ولجميع أمة محمد وآل محمد. All those who are ill and ailing, Allah grant them shifa. All those who have passed away, forgive them, elevate their ranks. All the hajat and du'as that everyone has, especially present here in this meeting, all of that be granted. All of these mustahabbat that were mentioned, Allah give us the opportunity, the tawfiq, to apply all of them, and in particular to put away those devices and gadgets and tablets and iPads away from us, especially when we are connected to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. For all those who have requested for du'as and for the marda of Islam and hit in this pandemic, Allah grant them shifa. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على
لأرواح
محمد.
المؤمنين والمؤمنات الفاتحة مع الصلوات اللهم صل على محمد
اللهم صل على Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajhum. Thank you, Maulana. I'd
Thank you.
like to thank everyone for attending today's lecture. And iltimas dua.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Khuda Hafiz. Thank you so much.
Thank you.